Welcome everyone to the Bugyan podcast. Today, and as all of you know very well now, we in this podcast invite security leaders, uh, accomplished ethical hackers, learn from their experiences and try to implement that in our own lives and see where that can match with what we know. Today we have with us Hiral Shah. Hiral is a veteran in the cybersecurity field. He has over 25 years of experience in InfoSec, working at multiple organizations, starting from an engineering role now, of course, to a CISO role at Dhani, which was India Bulls. So that's a name that many of you must be familiar with. Thank you so much, Hiral, for joining the podcast. It's a pleasure having you here.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Dhruva.
So, Hiral, throughout your career, you worked in all kinds of companies, right? And very, very diverse sectors. And I saw there's like a diamond company as well that you have worked for. So,
Right.
IT automation, finance, diamonds. Very curious to understand, and this is very interesting for the speakers who are watching as well. How is it that cybersecurity differs in all of these different, regions and areas that you've worked in? What are the things that you were having to prioritize at, say, the diamond company, whereas, say, Dhani now is a financial services
Right.
company,
Right.
right? Very curious to understand that.
Okay. So, see, Dhruva, basically what is happening, see, domain to domain, industries to industries, the practices are different, but the aim is same. Everybody has to be protect their data, everybody has to be protect their assets end of the day, but priorities are maybe little bit different to organization and the domain to domain. So if I can talk about the let us start something in this gems and jewelry domain. So if you got talking about the diamonds, okay. So definitely data are critical for them as well. Data are critical for the maybe finance company as well, and data are critical for the software company as well. But the priority of the business and the focus of the business for diamond companies maybe more focused that they are on business instead of the IT and the InfoSec. Yes. So they put the weightage somewhere. Maybe they put the second priority on second weightage on the data security and the data privacy. And they have a very limited data to be identify as a critical data, identify as a maybe the customer's data, identify as a maybe the you can say the business data. Okay. So what I can say, in terms of the industries to industries, in the diamond companies, they only follow the ISMS standards. They are not concerned about any compliances. Okay, they
Understood.
don't care about if we are the ISO 27000, we are the SOC 2 certified, we are the PCI DSS. They don't care because their business is something different. So they only concern about my data should be secured, my information security management framework should be established, and it should be followed across the organization. But
Understood, Hiral. That's, yeah,
yeah,
go on.
but in compared to the other financial institutes, so yes, I think see there is another difference is if companies entity regulatory entities if they are
Mhm.
registered, they are the RBI registers, right? So they have a different priorities in terms of the data and security. Like so,
Mhm.
example, if I can say about the any financial services, so definitely if I have to run the business under the financial services, definitely I have to get the license from the RBI, right?
Mhm.
And once I will be registered under the RBI, I have to follow their security guidelines. So by default, I will be liable to be comply with all the guidelines which is provided by the RBI for the non-banking finance industries and the for the banking finance industries. So that difference is there. So in this case, definitely whatever the guidelines, whatever the recommendeds are there from the for the regulatory entities, I have to be follow with them. I have to be comply with them. There is no choice.
Understood. No, Hiral, that's very interesting. That regulation is the thing that really matters over here. Because
Right.
for a company that is not regulated, like the diamonds company that we were talking about, they will do the bare minimum and they will just,
Absolutely,
survive
absolutely.
on the
Yeah.
cybersecurity. Would you say for you as a CISO, the job is easier at the regulated entity or the non-regulated entity?
See, basically, CISO role is very crucial for all the organization. That is all
Mhm.
subject to how the organization matured in terms of the data
Right.
management, right? But nowadays, I can say yes, it is very critical for all the organization because, if you can see the recent the act is there, the Data Privacy Digital Personal Data Protection
Correct.
Act, there, right? So that is even applicable to all the industries, whether it is regulatory entities, whether it is private entity. But only the advantage for the private entity, they don't have to report to any regulatory. So they can
Understood.
play within this act. They can play within this breaches. They can play within this data security. But for regulatory entities, the role is very sensitive, very crucial, and I'm sure, it is very pathetic, even I can say, for the CISO role for all these regulatory entities, specifically for the banking and finance and the you can say the other non-banking industries, basically.
I think that has become very established now with this DPDP and the DPO and all that the company has
Right,
to
right.
assign and implement, right? In fact, in our space where we do bug bounties, many of the companies have, given their point of contact for bug bounty as the DPO itself, right? So all
Absolutely.
the ethical hackers just mailing to the DPO and so on.
Right.
So it's really becoming a tough role for any kind of industry, regardless. And I can actually understand if you add compliance around it, then that's like a serious role over there, right? So that CISO really has to, kind of do multiple things. But that's very interesting to hear, Hiral.
Right,
Um,
right.
my next question is around, your overall, entry into InfoSec, which is always an interesting concept for everyone, because as we all know, there is no real clear entry into InfoSec nowadays. Everybody has their own journey. Nobody has gone through really a degree which has really helped them
Mm.
to lead them to the place where they are today. And many kinds of ethical hackers are looking at different kinds of spaces in which they are kind of trying to enter InfoSec. So,
Mhm.
very curious to understand, from what I know, you were a programmer or developer before you entered into cybersecurity. Personally, I do have the opinion that, if you have a programming understanding or you know how to break things, you are a better hacker generally, right? That's what I feel.
Right.
What do you think about that? Starting from, if you can talk a bit about your entry into InfoSec and if your opinion on programming and whether that is helping you. And maybe you can talk a bit about certifications as well, because I can see, of course, you have some of the leading certifications in the industry. Have they helped you in your career? Do you recommend that people go for them as well?
Okay. So Dhruv, basically, I started my journey as a maybe the junior programmer in one of the maybe the public limited company, and I started my career in the 1999 in the year, and that is almost there was very much rush for the Y2K. Even you understand the year
Hmm. Yeah,
2000.
of course.
Okay, so I had started working as a programmer, and I was doing the programming in the Fox Pro in the DBS. That is all the DBMS even. And at the time, the recent introduction about the RDBMS, the Oracle 7.x version was there. That is the first version, maybe 6.0 something. Okay, so I was doing the programming for the company. I had learned a lot. Even I had developed the ERP in this Fox Pro. Even that is a 2000 page programs and everything I had run in the command line as well. Okay, so the advantage of the programmer is the logic is too clear. Even we can
Hmm.
see the backbone of the IT or backbone of the technology is is really required to be deep down in this the coding. So
Hmm.
coding is most important part basically. If we supposed to start the career, then what I understood and what I believe is advice to everyone. At least you're supposed to know the coding at some basic level, at some middle advanced level somewhere. So you can understand how difficult this, how we can shape the technology and how technology works basically.
Hmm.
Using the logic, using the blocks, using the programming. See, nowadays it's completely different. Because no one is ready to do the coding and everything is available the front end users, you can say the user interface is available. So basically if we do the command line programming and if we create the machine learning, and I can say that is the machine learning, some kind of thing in the initial search, and there was no understanding about the machine learning, but yes, what we did basically, that is look like a machine learning only. We did the complete maybe the code based program, that is the command line program, that was not in even the Windows interface, right? So that was a very good learning for us. And based on this learning only, based on that experience only, we just gradually move forward with all the clear logics. Our logics was too clear. We know
Hmm.
how the things are moving, how the things are going to be shaped. So that was the most important for me even. Okay. And gradually I had shifted, see, I had working as a programmer for 5 years almost. And gradually I just started learning the networking. And at the time that was there is no technology for the there is no robust technology for the LAN when there was no Wi-Fi network even, right? In the 1989, even I was talking about in the some cities, that was
Hmm.
the very beginning of this revolution of the IT in this
Hmm.
India, I can say, right? So I started moving gradually to be maybe my you can say the integration in this all these technologies, working as a system admin, working as a Windows NT. Even that was the very older technology at that time. The first NT was there. And gradually I shifted to be system admin, network admin. Then I become maybe the IT officers. Okay. Then I started providing the support in the application. I started supporting as a supervisor of the department, IT department. Okay, so that is my journey basically. But yes, the initial career break was definitely it was really helped me a lot to be move forward with all the clear doubts, all the clear logics. Okay, and yes, so finally I got some opportunity maybe in the Middle East, so I taken this opportunity. I had handled this company as an independent IT officer in the Middle East somewhere. And in this company also, I learned a lot because that was the Middle East. I think they were more ahead than India, and I had worked with the lot of latest technology as well. And
Hmm.
finally, I got the opportunity to become a manager IT, to become a head of IT, and then I during this entire journey, I learned a lot in terms of the IT infrastructures, maybe the applications, maybe the I had started my journey with the compliance and regulatory from 2012 onwards, basically.
Hmm.
So then I understood, this is I just try to understand the roadmap of how the IT is moving, how the people are accepting the IT, how the people are accepting the technology, and the thoughts about the how the people are moving to cloud. I think in the
Hmm.
2012 onwards, I think the cloud was introduced, and people were starting moving to the cloud, and there was some less maturity. But yes, I think there was a lot of the evaluation were going on, and there was a lot of talks, and things are coming in the market in the cloud as well. So after that, I have decided, IT is having some boundary, because in future everybody will move on the cloud. Then after that,
Correct.
IT role will no more. So people will thought so now after in future maybe people will think about the data security, asset security, the transaction security. So then I finally decided to move to the compliance regulatory in the infosec, and I started my journey to achieve the certification and deep diving in the infosec journey. And after the lot of struggles, even I just finally got the one break or one opportunity in the automation anywhere as a manager of the information security even. And then I learned a lot with the help of the company, and I had implemented a lot in the automation anywhere. I just shaped the entire infosec in this automation anywhere as a single-handed, and with the cooperation with their local team as well. And then finally, after this, getting the multiple opportunities. After that, I got the couple of more opportunities. Then I finally become the CISO for this Dhani services. So this is the entire journey. It's very easy to discuss, but I'm sure, that was very difficult for me to be come on the stage.
No, of course, Hiral. I think that is a very amazing journey because you started right from the bottom and come to the, role that many people who are watching this aspire to be in the future, right? And that too for such a large financial services company. It's really, really amazing to see. Hiral, what is your opinion on certifications? You mentioned that you have a couple of certifications right now. Right now, if you look at the entry into cybersecurity, the top certifications that are spoken about is OSCP and CEH and so on, right? Do you?
So what? Yeah.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so what I did basically,
Mhm.
initially, see in my one of the assignment with the Damage Zone Diamond Limited in this Mumbai, so I had got the opportunity to work with the EY basically for my company's compliance and the ISMS gap assessment.
Mhm.
So that was a very good journey because I learned a lot from this entire EY, and I think they are very much professional, and they are very well-known brand in the India for the compliance regulatory and the
Of course.
security assessment, right? So I learned a lot, and after that, what I did basically, I just I had achieved this ISO 27001 lead implementation certification. I got the training as well. So that was my first achievement of the certification, and after that, I got the opportunity to work with Automation Anywhere. So during the journey of the Automation Anywhere, I just learned a lot in terms of the risk assessment, the entire implementation of the ISMS. So that was my first experience to be hands-on experience to be implementation of the ISMS framework for the entire company. And then I learned a lot about the security operation centers, the business continuity management, and a lot other, because Automation Anywhere is generally international brand, and I think they are having a presence in the international US, India, and a lot of other countries as well. So I learned a lot regarding the US compliance is regulatory, Indian compliance is regulatory, and some other countries as well. So that I had got an opportunity to work with this all the regulatory compliances, including data privacy, GDPR. And during this journey, I got the certification of the CISM, Certified Information Security
Mm-hmm.
Manager, and then I cracked the CRISA as well, the Information and System Risk Management. And see, after the Automation Anywhere, I joined the Dhani as a CISO. So during this journey, I achieved the CISA certification, basically Certified Information System auditor. And just recently, I become a certified of the CISO, the Certified Chief
Mm-hmm.
Information Security Officer from the EC Council. So that's my entire
Yes.
certification journey, and that certification journey I achieved during this my learning, my experience with the companies only.
So do you feel that that has added value to your day job?
Yes, that is really added value because that weightage is
Mm-hmm.
different, and the learning journey is very much important to achieve the certificate basically. So if you are the well experienced, if you are well maturity, then definitely the certificate help us to be proven you are the 100% professional and you are the
Got it.
to provide the services.
No, understood. Because it brings a lot of credentials
Right.
here also. One kind of follow-on twist on that question. For a CISO, so we of course know that for the AppSec guys, ethical hackers, you have to keep learning, right? And there are new threats coming every other day. AI threats are nowadays coming and so on. How is it that a CISO stays up to date on these threats, right? Because do you look at Twitter? Do you look at, some, email thread that keeps telling you? Do you talk to your other CISO friends? Is there like a community? How is it that you keep up to date on what are the latest technologies to implement in any kind, DLP, zero trust, anything, right? And how do you do that? Very curious to understand.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So, Dhruva, what is happening basically, in our field is even I'm sure in all the fields are definitely same challenges are there. But if I can say in the security fields, we have to be active almost 24 by 7, I can say, right? Because what is happening, when I sleep in the night, definitely I worry, every day I worry about what is happening by tomorrow.
Hmm.
Okay. And definitely, we are enough secure. We just put all the parameters to be more secure our organization or business. But how we get the update, we have a maybe networking with all other CISO friends, almost we have a
Hmm.
CISO group maybe from all the topmost industries. So we discuss, we have a platform to discuss, we have a platform to share. So that is the first part. Second, basically, we just try to look the information over the all the on the internet medias, basically all the trusted brands. We generally same. We generally listen the podcast as well, same. Currently, you are just performing. And
Hmm.
another part is generally we are more active to be do the vulnerability assessment continuously for our environment.
Okay.
So that is the most important for us. So based on the vulnerability assessment, we come to know if our environment are vulnerable or not. If any
Hmm.
single vulnerability can lead the maximize risk, or it can be maybe we can ignore the risk. So that is all the parameter can generally help us to be understand where we are and what is the shape of our organization. So that is the most
Understood.
important part, and that we generally follow.
Understood. So networking, third-party audits, and just all-round learning, looking at podcasts, websites, and so on. No, I think that's pretty comprehensive. I think in any industry, that's how people learn, right? Looking at all the top kinds of things. So very interesting to see that for a CISO as well, the same as there.
Right.
Hiral, earlier spoke about the fact that you worked in Dubai, right? And that's always something interesting for people to see in India. Interestingly, many peers and many, security engineers often get offers from Dubai-based companies to come and work over there, and those are, of course, a bit, glamorous, and there is a level of a hike that people
Absolutely.
get over there, right? So even as a security engineer or as a CISO, there is an option to move to the Middle East and work there as well. Would love to understand from you, since you have an experience on both sides, right, at a top level. What is the core difference in working there versus here with regards to, say budgets, say, the level of security maturity, the kind of experimentation, the kind of compliance? How would you compare Middle East to India?
Okay. See, Dhruv, basically there are a couple of attractive parameters generally, where people are definitely they think to be moved to the Middle East. They think they move
Hmm.
to the other international companies. See, the first of all, the reason is that they are process oriented. First of all, in
Hmm.
the Middle East, if we can say they adopted the US technologies, they adopted the US cultures almost like if we can compare. So they are the process oriented. Second, basically, if I can talk about the employment and the benefit system. So the second is most important part is the tax-free remuneration they are offering. So these two are most important factor. Third is basically the lifestyle is a little bit maybe polished in compared to the India.
Okay.
So there's three parameters generally they attract the employees, they attract the workers to be work there for the some time. So that's the only parameters what I can say.
And from a security perspective, if you would compare the budgets of a cybersecurity company in India compared to the budgets of a cybersecurity company in UAE, not naming anyone specific, do you feel the investment into security is higher there or here?
See, I compared to the maybe decade back, yes, currently they are definitely very much active and they are putting the budget to be secure the environment, and that is again subject to the organization to organization because in the UAE also there are the small to medium to large scale industries are there,
Of
right?
course, of
So,
course.
if you can compare the small business, they don't care about that because by default they have a security provider by the government for all the data. They have a by default compliance charges so they don't deal in the personal data and the private data, right? So some securities are there by default as a native security, and that is better than us, I can say, because we are the developing country and they are almost developed, I can say. So by default, the maturity is there. By default, some native security parameters are there. So they are secure from never. But yes, the larger enterprise, the software companies, some government companies, they are putting the more focus on the security and they generally spend the budget for that as well. So yeah, so that's the difference.
Understood. Understood. Very interesting to hear. I think all around the globe, people are really trying to increase their budgets. But of course, we can naturally imagine that they are a level above. India will also get there to, soon enough. And you better be in a growing economy than a developed one. I think that's all. That's why all of us are here, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Hiral, one, other question, right? So you've been in the space for a while. You've seen many cyber attacks kind of happen here and there. Uh,
Mm.
what is like one attack that you have seen or as an organization you tackled with that was really interesting for you to kind of see through, right? Or your SOC team to see through, or you to overall manage. If you can, share a bit about that, if there is one like that.
So Dhruva, basically, during my journey, I have not faced any attack in this Dhani services, basically, because we are definitely very much concerned about the attack should not be happen. That is my
Of course.
target. Okay, so in during my journey with the Dhani since last 1.5 years, I have not seen any attacks.
Mm.
Basically, see the minor suspicious activities maybe we found, and generally that is taken care by my SOC team, and I don't so think it is escalation is required even because that is as usual we are getting maybe thousand of attack per day, but that is automatically
Ah,
dropped
okay.
at our firewalls level because we generally put this hardening at our all the gateway level securities, right? So that is not happening nowadays. But yes, in this previous organization, maybe not previous, maybe in the Mumbai when I was working with the damage on Diamond, I have seen the one attack look like a ransom attack in one of
Okay.
my company in the Hong Kong. So, but that was a very small impact because one of the machine was compromised and they were asking about the ransom and we have paid and we released that money because at that time we were not in the enough capable to implement the technology, implement the ransom, anti-ransom tool, implement the the costlier parameters
Mm.
for that. So that was the one experience was there, but otherwise I have not seen any breaches during my journey with any of the company.
That's very interesting, Hiral. You point out, ransomware. Even if we look at the kind of cyber attacks that are there, ransomware is still rampant, right? And if you look at AI also coming in, it will make implementation of ransomware easier. And we're already seeing that with phishing
Absolutely.
emails, right? Earlier, we used to detect phishing emails by looking at how well the email is written.
Hmm.
Correct. And now you have things like ChatGPT who can write a very perfect email from a very person
Absolutely.
to you. So they look very, very real, right? So these phishing emails that lead to a initial access and eventually lead to ransomware are still very rampant. And I think all companies need to have something to be done about that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's really great.
So Hiral, one more question now, right? I think we can wrap it up as the final question. And this is something very interesting for many people around here as well.
Hmm.
Um, if you were to hire someone, right, what are the three top qualities that you will look for in your cybersecurity team right now?
Okay, that's very interesting
Yeah.
question. So Dhruva, basically, if in my personal opinion, what I see the I just try to see the four parameters in any of the candidate, whether it is fresh
Okay.
year, it is experience, First of all, maybe like an intention to work. First of all, intention, interest in this specific role. Secondly, I see how potentially he can grow in terms of the knowledge, in terms of the how he can learn fast in terms of the as a good learner. I just try to see. Third is basically the person supposed to be active almost he's supposed to be an active approach for everything. And fourth is most important is basically the positive thinker. So that four things I see, then only I just try to hire the person, because I know if these four quality are there, I can mold this person as per the requirement. I can take the better output. He can be the better deliverables, and he can be grow according to the business.
Understood. I think that's very interesting. Interest in work, how he can grow, an active person and a positive thinker. I think if all of us implement these in our lives, we will live much better lives in general,
Absolutely.
right?
See, because in
And we
this
will be
our
much stronger.
cyber security world, the positive thinking is most important, because I can give the one example, if any attack happen, example maybe some virus or maybe malwares generally attack so how we present to the management, how we present to the users, that is most important for us. Because
Of
what is
course,
happening, example, if someone is with the very negative thinking, they said, sir, this is the attacks, and we
this is
are
over.
compromised, it will breach. But what the positive thinker will say, yes, there is some potential attack we can see, and we have already remediated, and we just try to check the entire environment, but otherwise we are good. So that's the presentation, something like that, because I like the person who cannot always present the problems, but a problem along with the solutions.
Oh, of course, if everybody is telling all the problems, then you're just sitting, okay, thank you. But what is the
Right.
next step with regards to the solution? I
Absolutely.
completely understand what you're saying, and I do relate that with that as well. Having people like that around us make it very frustrating. But if you have people who can give you solutions, they are the best employees. So I think
Absolutely.
everyone watching this podcast, that's something you can implement. Thank you so much, Hiral. We'll keep it short, sweet, so that
Sure.
everybody can have a enjoy this podcast. Thank you so much for coming. Wishing you a very happy Uttarayan,
Sure.
and
Thank you very
hope
much
you
for your
enjoy the
time. And
festival
I'm
in
really
Gujarat.
sorry for all this inconvenience in the past.
No
Absolutely.
worries at all. We finally got to connect. So
Sure. Thank you.
so thank you so much.